What is up, guys? You are tuned into the Casual Wrestling Channel, and this is the Monday Night Raw post show. Tonight, we break down the potential surprise returns at Survivor Series. I will tell you who the actual leader of the Judgment Day is, and I'll explain what happened to Ivar's voice on Monday Night Raw. But first, Drew McIntyre is officially the 5th member on the Judgment Day Survivor Series team, and the big question running through everybody's mind right now is, should Drew McIntyre take up a permanent residence in the Judgment Day? So here's the thing that nobody wants to come out and say, and I'm going to say it because that's who I am. I say the uncomfortable truths, but it's important that we be honest here, okay? Let's say this out loud together. Drew McIntyre is boring. Let that soak in, because I know that's a conversation that a lot of you guys aren't ready to have, but your boy Drew McIntyre is boring. I mean, he's fine in the ring. His look, phenomenal, right? But he just doesn't have that something. He doesn't have that one element that makes you want to see him succeed. He does that. There's just that something. He's not that lovable hero. And he's not that despicable heel. He exists somewhere in that gray area, and I thought for a while that's where I wanted my Drew McIntyre, but the more I see him, I see that's not exactly, he doesn't live in that space. He doesn't survive in that world. Just look at every big match that Drew McIntyre has had since being the COVID champion. All these big matches are predicated on one big story element. There's one narrative that continues to be pushed, and it's pushed by the IWC, and that is that Drew McIntyre deserves a title run with fans involved. That's what every time he gets into a big match, that's what the IWC is trying to sell us on. The IWC just believes that it is Drew McIntyre's right to have a title run to make up for not having fans when he won the title in the Thunderdome era. And I get the sentiment, but I don't agree with it. You have to work and move the needle to get that title run, especially right now when there are more hungry stars than there have ever been in WWE. Look, if there was ever a moment to pull the trigger on Drew McIntyre, that has came and gone. That was Clash at the Castle in front of a crowd that was absolutely ape shit for Drew McIntyre. So here we are now. Drew McIntyre is slotted as the 5th wheel in the Judgment Day Survivor Series match. And Drew needs to cling to this opportunity like a fat kid clinging to a donut. Don't let this go for any reason, Drew, because this can work for you. You have all the potential. You have all of the pieces to be the perfect superstar. You've just never put them all together in the right sequence to make you relevant enough long enough for us to stick the title on you long term. Look, Drew McIntyre has the look. He has the talent. He can talk on a microphone. He's just never fully committed to a character that has got him over long enough with the fans for us to go, we could stay behind you, Drew. And maybe that's circumstance. Maybe that's COVID. But here's what I do. If I'm Triple H, here's how I book War Games to get Drew McIntyre over with a Chicago crowd. I have him absolutely dominate in the War Games match. But I need him to keep bumping in and getting in the way of Damian Priest during that match. I need those two to have multiple stare downs within that match that are very uncomfortable. And then I need something to happen in that match towards the end that isolates Damian Priest away from the rest of Judgment Day and allows the Super Friends to get the pin on Damian Priest. And then after the match, I need Drew McIntyre to claymore Damian Priest and have the Judgment Day just kind of stand around in awe and not do anything about it. So then when we come back on Monday Night Raw, Priest is like, it's either me or it's Drew McIntyre. And you book the last segment of Raw is Judgment Day's decision, where they ultimately turn on Damian Priest and they introduce Drew McIntyre as a true new leader of the Judgment Day, saying, Look, what we've been lacking this whole time is real leadership. You claim to be the leader, Damian, but you never took us to the heights that we possibly could be. What Drew McIntyre needs to be is a despicable and grimy heel. He needs to be the guy that punks out Dom and starts taking the attention of Rhea Ripley because he is that alpha male. He needs to lead the Judgment Day while always kind of making them feel slightly uncomfortable. Like, hey man, you remember the good times when we had no leader? It's time for Drew McIntyre to get rid of the sword, get rid of the Scottish warrior character, and just go full on dark, gritty, grimy heel. I think a sinister, dark version of Drew McIntyre, man, he could pull off some Undertaker type vibes if he played it correctly. I could see a dominant heel version of Drew McIntyre gaining the traction that he would actually need for an interesting long-term heel world title run. I could see that in the cards for him. But I'll turn the question to you guys. Are you guys going to pay more attention to a heel Drew McIntyre champion, or are you guys going to pay attention to the same old kind of whiny babyface Drew McIntyre who swings a sword around and he just always comes up short? You guys answer that for me. So as Raw went off the air this past week, Cody grabbed a microphone, and you can only see this on social media. This didn't happen on television, but he grabbed a microphone and he addressed the crowd saying, spoiler alert, Jey Uso and I have friends too. And the crowd proceeded to chant Randy Orton's name, which, if indeed it turns out that the fifth member of the Super Friends is Randy Orton, the question is, when does WWE bring him on screen for us to make it official? So in my opinion, you have to bring Randy Orton back on this Monday Night Raw this week. It has to be right now. You cannot wait until Survivor Series. That, to me, that is premium live event suicide at this point. And Chicago is going to call out for Punk. If there is any hope, if there's any semblance, if there is a surprise to be had, Chicago is going to bank on that surprise being CM Punk. It doesn't matter what all conventional logic tells us at that point in time. Chicago wants CM Punk. And WWE hasn't helped this. And CM Punk hasn't helped this. The booking that they've done hasn't helped this. Everybody has teased this up until this point. We know deep in our hearts, as casual wrestling fans, we all know that this fifth spot on the Super Friends, that's reserved for Randy Orton. But you gotta believe that any whiff of a surprise at Survivor Series in Chicago, there is going to be a certain number of fans who are going to continue to hold out hope that this is CM Punk. And Randy Orton isn't the type of star who needs fanfare and needs a surprise return at a premium live event. Randy Orton is solid. He's solid all the way around. He's going to get whatever reaction you want him to get whenever and wherever he shows up. And at this point, I feel like WWE has kind of let too much spill out as far as Orton's return is concerned. So just pull the Band-Aid off and have him show up at the end of Raw this week. We all know how Raw is going to end, right? Or how we think it's going to end is there'll be a main event featuring one or two guys from each side of the Survivor Series match. Drew McIntyre is going to come down and do something despicable that gets the odds out of whack, and then Jay and Cody will run out. And I think the last thing we see is probably Randy Orton's music hitting, and Randy Orton coming down, hitting an RKO on Dom, hitting an RKO on JD McDonough, clearing the ring out. And the last optics we get of Monday Night Raw is going to be, Cody Rhodes grabbing a microphone, because Cody's got to have the last word. Cody Rhodes always has to have the last word. So Cody's going to grab the microphone and he's going to say something snarky. He's got to get one of his little quips in. I told you we had friends. He's got that little lisp. So he's going to announce or say something like that. So that's what's going to happen. That's how you bring Randy Orton back. That's how you clear up all those surprises. I'm not concerned with all of that. My bigger concern as far as Randy Orton is two things. Is Randy Orton putting his health at risk returning in a fucking War Games match? Like, those could get pretty dicey and pretty rough. I don't know if that's where I want the guy who still to this day we're hearing doctors are like, probably shouldn't wrestle again. But you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go out and get in this weird 2-ring structure that has a metal bar in between the two that feels like disaster waiting to happen. But the other question I have is, what do you do with Randy Orton when this match is over? You know, the play was always when Randy came back, we were going to get Randy Orton versus Riddle, and Riddle had to go take that payday and just shit it away. So what do you do with Randy coming out of Survivor Series? Like, we know as casual wrestling fans, we know at this point, right? We have to move past the Super Friends versus the Judgment Day. This is it. This is the finale. This is the last chapter. This is the last movie in that trilogy. So what do you do with Randy? I guess you could roll Randy into a feud with Judgment Day, but to me still, that just feels worn out. You know, the play, like I said earlier, for Judgment Day, I think is going to be Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest in a power struggle. I think that vacuum should exist, and that is the only way to kind of refresh and not get us tired of Judgment Day. So the only thing I can think of here is that Randy Orton is going to have to turn on Cody Rhodes. I think that's the play. The Viper should be a lone wolf. He doesn't need friends. It'll hold Cody over for the next couple of months as he gets closer to WrestleMania, because we all know right now, Cody Rhodes is in holding for WrestleMania. I think his comments about The Rock this past week and saying that, yeah, The Rock may show up at WrestleMania, but he's not taking my spot. I think that was a little bit of, to me, a solidification of Cody's fighting Roman at WrestleMania. That's set in. Someone has told Cody, you don't have to worry, that's happening. So we know that Cody's in holding for WrestleMania. This just gives you a fun feud to happen between now and late January, Royal Rumble. You know, there's history between these two guys. They're going to have phenomenal matches. Everything just kind of falls into place as far as Orton and Cody Rhodes go. It works simple, right? You can use Randy Orton as a babyface at Survivor Series and easily have him turn heel a couple weeks down the road. You can slow burn it with Randy Orton. You don't have to worry about throwing him into the fire as a heel right off the bat. Get your pop at Survivor Series, use him as a babyface, and slow burn and bring him down the road to turn on Cody Rhodes. But WWE has to find a way to separate Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, and Sami Zayn's stories. Coming out of Survivor Series, we can't do the same shit. The Super Friends all need to go their separate ways. We need to find separate enemies for each one of these guys at this point. And the thing that scares me is when you look at the Raw roster, there's not really enough credible heels outside of the Judgment Day to satisfy the need for all of these stories with these top baby faces. You look at WWE and the way it's comprised right now, I'd say that Raw is full of great baby faces and SmackDown is more full of the better heels. So it might be time to get Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce in a room and let's make a couple trades happen. Let's rebalance these rosters. Let's do a draft. Let's do something and let's rectify some of these problems we have with the imbalance of heels and baby faces. Because if not, Raw is going to be in dire need of a bunch of turns, a bunch of guys going from babyface and going to heel. And I think one of those guys may end up being Sami Zayn. You could turn Sami Zayn heel, but the question is, what real good does that do? Coming out of Survivor Series, what do you gain from turning Sami Zayn heel? We know you're not turning Jey Uso heel, because right now you need to keep Jey Uso on this phenomenal babyface path with all the momentum he has. You need to keep that train rolling right into WrestleMania because he's set for a showdown with his brother. So Sammy feels like he could go heel, but I just need to know what's the purpose? What's the story? What's the reason? You know, some of your get out of jail free cards, You turn the Miz babyface, so you don't have that cheat code anymore. You can't just, this babyface needs a heel, grab the Miz. You turn the Miz babyface. I'm still not sure that was the best idea. I understand it works for the Gunther situation, but outside of Gunther, I don't know that not having that, Miz was the break glass in case of emergency. But Randy Orton turning heel, to me, that's the best play here. Slow play it a couple of weeks with Randy and Cody possibly working together, tag teaming like a big, reunion, hoorah-rah, and then boom, just one random Raw, have Randy Orton turn on Cody Rhodes. You can have him go one-on-one at the Royal Rumble if you're trying to keep Cody Rhodes out of the Royal Rumble match this year. It's a storyline that'll definitely keep people's attention. But the fact remains to me is that, Randy has to show up Monday. We can't drag this out. This can't spill into Survivor Series. This is not a surprise that you want to play out. That could turn out to be a disaster. And to me, the play you want here is Randy Orton locked and in place going into Survivor Series. And then if you've got more up your sleeve, that can play out at Survivor Series. Speaking of more up your sleeve, Shinsuke Nakamura cut another cryptic promo this week. The question that everybody wants to know right now is, who the hell is Shinsuke Nakamura talking to? So let's dissect this promo. Let's go line by line and let's see who we think could fit the mold that Shinsuke Nakamura is forming in front of us. But before we go line by line, let's set the lineup. Let's set the lineup of usual suspects that seem to be the most recognized as possible parties to the victim of Shinsuke Nakamura's promo. So we all know right now, unless you're living under a rock, we know that there's a large group of casual wrestling fans that are holding out that this is CM Punk. And I'm going to tell you right now, based on what I'm about to talk about, I might be losing a little bit of faith in this argument. A little bit. I'm not going to say I'm off the boat, but I might be losing a little bit of faith. We also know that there's a group of fans who say that Shinsuke Nakamura is just waiting for Seth Rollins to come out of this War Games situation. That, to me, that is by far my least favorite idea of all of the possibilities of what could be going on with Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, you have a group of fans that say Cody Rhodes. There's a small group of fans that say this could be what happens with Randy Orton. And then you have other groups of fans who say Will Ospreay and other unknown names, and that's great. So there's possibilities. But let's break down this last promo. Now I'm going into this thinking that the logic is Shinsuke is saying what he means, and that WWE isn't using this promo as a throwaway curveball to get us off the scent. I'm going to talk about it like that to start, and then we can play around with some other possibilities afterwards. So here's the promo word for word. It says, "I am frustrated. You are blessed with so much privilege. So I'm taking away your choice. The opportunity is mine now. These distractions have not taken my focus off you. Win or lose your next battle, you will only be less than. Not my problem. I will wait for now, because I know it all ends by my hands." So let's break that down. Let's break that down line by line. Let's try to get to kind of the crux of what this means here. I am frustrated. We start off like that, right? That's a straightforward expression of emotion. He's openly acknowledging he's frustrated. You could interpret that multiple ways. Recent losses, backstage politics, different storylines. I don't think that necessarily points to one immediate person. But then he goes on to say, you are blessed with so much privilege. This is an accusatory line here. Now I could point this at CM Punk. The privilege is you keep getting opportunity after opportunity, no matter how many times you fuck up. I could see this with Seth Rollins. You're blessed with privilege. You're just kind of the guy, and everything kind of seems to fall in for you. But I really think that line best fits Cody Rhodes in the fact that he kind of has had advantages or favorable circumstances in his return to WWE. So then we move on to, I'm taking away your choice. That suggests kind of an aggressive confrontational action, right? He's implying that he's going to force a situation upon opponents. I don't read that to be a CM Punk thing. To me, that gets confusing. I think that's more of a Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins type situation. He goes on to say the opportunity is mine now. These distractions have not taken my focus off of you. That starts to really read as Seth Rollins to me. I got to tell you guys, like it indicates that despite other issues and storylines going on, that the focus has always been on winning that title. So he says, win or lose your next battle, you will only be less than, not my problem. That's kind of a dismissive attitude. I will wait for now. That implies patience. I don't think you're waiting on CM Punk. I don't think you're waiting on Cody Rhodes. And then he says, because I know it all ends by my hands. When you break that down, really sentence for sentence, as disappointed as it makes me to say this, I don't think that promo is meant for CM Punk. Nothing adds up for me unless this is a plan, like I said, to get everybody off of the scent. This doesn't make sense. How does that promo, someone help me, how does that promo relate to CM Punk returning to WWE? If Shinsuke says, it doesn't take my focus off of you, well, why would he ever have been focused on CM Punk? And I'll be honest, this doesn't scream Cody Rhodes to me either. When I read this promo, word for word, sentence for sentence, it feels like it's aimed directly at Seth Rollins. And that's not fun. I don't love that. It feels like Shinsuke saying, War Games is a slight detour. It has to happen, but I'm waiting on the other side to pick up where we left off. I don't love the idea of Shinsuke Nakamura losing 2 initial fights to Seth Rollins, then continuing to chase this title with no opposition. I think it diminishes the value of that title. The story was, it was always there for Shinsuke Nakamura to win the title. If that was the plan, you had 2 encounters to get that job done. Now, it just feels like it's too late. It feels like we've lost focus on that situation. Now, here's where you can twist this a little bit. Where this could get interesting and where I think this might be going is, I do think this was meant for Seth Rollins. And I think that Shinsuke will come out at Survivor Series to call out Seth Rollins. He will stand in that ring and say, I want another title match. I want another title match against you, Seth Rollins. And instead of Seth's music hitting, because that's what we'll all be expecting, bam, Cult of Personality hits. If I was trying to swerve the audience that was already pretty confident that CM Punk was returning, that's exactly how I would do it. I would make it seem like Shinsuke Nakamura's attention was focused in another place. Nobody said that for CM Punk to come back, Shinsuke had to be directly talking to him. Nobody said that. Shinsuke doesn't have to know that CM Punk is returning. CM Punk could return on the basis that you had your chance, motherfucker. It's my turn. And CM Punk returns, takes out Shinsuke Nakamura en route to trying to get to Seth Rollins in the World Heavyweight Championship. What this does is this allows CM Punk to come back in a heel position, because you can easily run Shinsuke Nakamura versus CM Punk in a heel versus heel type match if they both have the same goal to get to Seth Rollins in the World Heavyweight Championship. I could see WWE saying, let's do CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at Royal Rumble. And I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that CM Punk could win the title at Royal Rumble, and then Rollins would have to find a way to get back to a rematch and win the title back at WrestleMania. That's a trade-off. I think Punk would be happy with that. I think Rollins would be happy with that. I think there is some intrigue and a storyline that works out in that favor. I'm still confident that Triple H is trying to throw us off of the scent here. I don't think with all of the great booking that Triple H has done in the last couple of weeks, I don't think he's going to just fall back to, well, let's do Shinsuke versus Rollins again at this point. I think there's so many other bigger matches to make, and it would only make sense that CM Punk versus Seth Rollins is the biggest match you could make. The biggest moment of 2023 could be CM Punk returning to WWE. That is an opportunity. WWE has that it's in their hands. You can hate it, you can love it, you can say whatever you want about it, but that is in WWE's hands. They can make that happen with just a couple phone calls. I think, there's mind games going on. I think CM Punk's playing mind games by dropping Instagram posts that allude to him being the devil in AEW, but also these cryptic numbers that add up to coordinates for Allstate Arena. Sure, I think he's trying to confuse the crowd. I think Shinsuke Nakamura is trying to confuse the crowd. I think that Triple H is trying to confuse the people. And I think that if the devil is revealed this weekend in AEW and it's not CM Punk, I think that the CM Punk talk gets turned up to 11, going into the next week's wrestling content from every content creator. All right, let's take a quick break to go over some housekeeping for the Casual Wrestling Community YouTube channel. The Casual Wrestling channel, we're moving into what I'm going to call season 3 of content. I teased a new schedule for shows starting Thanksgiving week. That might get pushed back a little bit, but this is the official schedule going forward for season 3 of content as far as the Casual Wrestling Community goes. On Mondays, from here on out, you will get the new show called the NerdyD Hit List, where I will break down and dissect either a top 10 list that I find on the internet or one that is submitted to me by one of you guys through email or on the Discord. Every Tuesday, you will get the NerdyD Wrestling Show, which will replace both the Casual Wrestling Monday Night Raw and SmackDown post shows and combine them into one weekly podcast where I will give my personal thoughts and opinions on what has happened in the past week of wrestling, both SmackDown and Raw on one show. Every Wednesday, you will be getting the Casual Wrestling Show. This will be a revamped version of what you've known in the past, but this time I will bring guests on to talk about what they thought about wrestling this week. I will ask them some questions, they will ask me some questions, and it's basically me trying to convince a bunch of my friends that they need to start watching wrestling. This show will probably lean a little more SmackDown heavy, given that is the more casual show right now. So that is every Wednesday. Thursday, you will get the Champ and the Chick. This will be me and Lauren's show. This will be the least wrestling specific show that we have, but it will still have some ties to wrestling, and it's the show that is the most fun to record and hopefully watch. I think a lot of people liked it. I think you guys have missed it being gone for the last couple of weeks. And lastly, every Friday, we will do the Casual SmackDown live show. This will be a weekly live watch along to Friday Night SmackDown. This is going to be much more organized than we did the first time. The first time we were just kind of watching and bullshitting. This will feel a little bit more like a structured podcast that's almost going on during SmackDown. There will be segments, there will be a couple of games, and it will definitely have some rotating guests on the show. It should feel more like the Manning cast. That's what I'm aiming for when I'm going with Friday Night SmackDown Live. I want it to feel sort of like the Manning cast does for NFL. If you don't watch football, you have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. But that's the content that you're going to get on a weekly basis. Monday through Friday, those will be happening. Then each week, there will be one bonus episode in some form or fashion, whether it be the Casual Wrestling Premium Live Event experience, which is myself and Milwaukee Mike doing our best to break down and preview the current month's Premium Live Event. Survivor Series is this month. I don't think there'll be one in December. We'll do Royal Rumble in January. You'll get one of those a month. The other show will be #CWC. This will be a show where I look at hot takes from the internet, from other content creators, things that I find on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, Reddit, and I will break those down for you in a very special flavor of the way I like to critique things. The third show will be Casual Attitude. Once a month, I will make Lauren go back and watch an Attitude Era pay-per-view so she can see what real wrestling was like. It will be live streamed, so anyone who wants to watch along can do so or can sync it up later to the pay-per-view to see how we react to all of those moments. And last but not least, There will be a special show that I'm working on right now that I hope to have up and running by mid-December. This is more of a complex thing. This is a little bit ambitious, but I think it's going to be fun. If it indeed does come together, it is going to make for some very fun community content, and it will involve a lot of the members of the community. So look out, that hopefully comes together and we could do that. That's an ambitious schedule. I get it. That's a lot of wrestling content, but we got a new studio coming. I'm going to be there full time. So I think that the content will find a rhythm that you guys can look forward to. This is going to be a full-time thing. And the analytics say that we're growing, and the analytics say that most people like a 30-minute episode. So I'm going to tighten things up, give you something every day, and that's what you can expect going forward in the future. All right, this is the part of the show where I take listener questions. You can reach out to the show by emailing me at questions@casualwrestlingcommunity.com or by joining the Casual Wrestling Discord and submitting a question there. This week's questions are from Brian Nguyen in Raleigh, North Carolina. He says, "Hey, Nerdy D, I've been pondering about Judgment Day's leadership since Monday Night Raw. In your opinion, who do you think currently stands as the true leader of the Judgment Day, and who do you believe should lead the group in the future?" We've been beaten senseless with the concept that the Judgment Day has no leader. They've tried to convince us, even though from my point of view the entire time, Rhea Ripley has been the clear leader of the group. And I liked the power struggle dynamic that we saw on Monday Night Raw this week with Damian Priest snapping and calling himself the leader. I think, like I said earlier in the show, that Drew McIntyre should commit 100% to being part of the Judgment Day and start to force himself into that leadership role, alienating Damian Priest and causing issues between Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, Rhea Ripley. Just kind of start unweaving the threads of that group. I'm not ready for Judgment Day to necessarily break up, but I think we could be in store for a little bit of a refresh. I think a refresh would be welcome. It could also help to get the tag team titles off of Judgment Day, which I think WWE's booked themselves into a little bit of a corner, because I don't think they necessarily want Damian Priest or Finn Balor taking a pin at this point in time. But I think if Damian Priest got on the outs with Judgment Day, you could very easily write a story where Damian Priest turns his back on Finn Balor during a tag team match, leaving Finn Balor just, helpless to get beat by whatever tag team WWE picks to move those titles to next. I like the optics of Judgment Day that is led by a cocky Drew McIntyre. I absolutely think that works. Next question is from Marcus Allen in Omaha, Nebraska. "Hello, Nerdy D. I've been a long-time audio listener. Just switched to YouTube. My question is, I've been thinking about WWE's strategy for War Games match. Do you think it's a wise decision for WWE to have Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes working together in this scenario? I'm curious about your take on this." I don't think it hurts anything to pause the rift between Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I think it absolutely would be more silly to have the feud within the feud, if that makes sense. I don't think that Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins are on any kind of collision course in the foreseeable future. I think that it's Cody's destiny to move to SmackDown and win the WWE title, while I think it's Seth Rollins' destiny to stay and kind of be the flagship person on Monday Night Raw. Now, you can always 360 and restart the fire at some point. If they get that itch to do Cody versus Seth again, it's easy, because I think Cody Rhodes is a lifetime babyface. I don't foresee him ever turning heel in WWE. But it would be easy to have Seth Rollins turn on Cody Rhodes at some point and go back to a heel persona. I was wondering how they were going to play this out in the War Games match anyway. I don't like the disdain between two baby faces as you go into a match, and it looks like they just squashed it in a simple backstage segment, which is easily the best way to do that. I think it was the right move. I think it's a match that's going to need the Super Friends to all be on the same page going against the Judgment Day. I just think there's too many other storylines right now to let Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins beef with each other become the focus of Survivor Series. All right, let's finish off the show this week with a rapid fire finish. Thoughts on Jey Uso's new shirt? Love it. I think Jey Uso's killing it. I like the Yeet shirt. I had to look up what Yeet meant. That makes me old as fuck. Apparently it's throwing something and not worrying about it. If I'm wrong about that, someone who is much younger than me, jump into the comments and let me know. Look, I know there's a lot of IWC who think that Jey Uso is destined to end up back in tag team wrestling at some point, but I think there's a misconception from the older guys like myself that we don't understand. Jey Uso's connecting with the younger audience. I believe so. I think he speaks the language. I think, the Yeet, the kind of concert-like experience he has when he comes out to the ring. I think that Jey Uso is probably primed for at least a mid-card title run in the near future, just to test the reception that he would get as a world champion. It does bother me that Jey Uso is 38 years old, so you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at long-term booking. Maybe you skip the mid-card and you go straight to a World Heavyweight Championship role next year and just see how he does. Transitional champion, see how the crowd reacts, especially coming out of WrestleMania. Jey Uso's going to be hot. Like, his stock will be high. You assume that he's going to beat Jimmy and move forward, and where do you go after that? I think he will be one of the biggest stars in WWE coming out of WrestleMania. I know a lot of people are very high on Solo Sikoa, but I still believe that Jimmy and Jey Uso have bigger star potential than Solo Sikoa. I think Solo Sikoa has more of a Mark Henry type trajectory for his career, kind of a career enforcer who never can really stay in the main event picture. And that's not meant to be negative. I love Mark Henry, and I think that is a hell of a career to have. Next topic. What the hell was up with Ivar's voice in his promo? Man, Ivar lost all of the bass in his voice. He decided he just dropped the whole Viking act. Did he just go straight school nerd? Is Ivar in for a gimmick change? That was wild to me. I literally dropped my coffee when I heard him talk like that, and I went straight to the Discord, and I was about 5 minutes behind in watching Monday Night Raw. Everybody had already noticed what I noticed, and I got a great kick out of going in there and being like, I'm late to this party, but what the fuck was that? If you didn't hear it or you didn't catch it, go back and listen closely, because Ivar sounds like a generic creator wrestler voice that is used in every WWE 2K video game. So hopefully his balls drop before he gets into the ring with Bronson Reed, because if not, he's in for a world of trouble. Thoughts on the MJF post about the AEW freshman class that he labeled Double XL? I thought it was interesting. I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, MJF's starting to feel like he has the AEW pom-poms right now. It leads me to believe maybe he has re-signed with AEW quietly, and there won't really be a bidding war. We can talk more about that as we get closer to January. But maybe he doesn't think he could cut it in WWE. Too many big names. It's crowded in WWE right now. I don't know that that's where I'd want to go. He's got a pretty nice lane carved out in AEW. I don't know if I'd want to get lost in that WWE crowd. But I saw the image. I saw the image. I'll post the image. I could name 4 people. That's the best I could do as a casual fan. It definitely was a photo that was meant to get the attention of the IWC. MJF, there's Hook, there's Daniel Garcia, and there's Wheeler Yuta. Those are the 4 that I could name. Outside of that, you want me to start naming people? There's the guy that I know jumps real high. He's in that picture. There's AEW's version of Rey Mysterio with a mask. There's also AEW's version of Rey Mysterio without a mask. Looks like 2 generic white wrestlers. And it looks like a guy who stole Master Shredder's shoulder pads. That's it. That's what I see. Nice double X cover, MJF. Now, let's play the game the way casual fans will play the game. And let's look at the company who really has a freshman class that people know who they are. And so I assume the criteria for creating this freshman class is going to be superstars under the age of 30. It only seems fair. MJF's 27. We got to create a pretty, common cutoff line. Let's call it 30. So if you're doing this for WWE, to me, the freshman class is Theory, Braun Breaker, the Creed brothers, Wes Lee, Carmelo Hayes, Cora Jade, Drogonov, Pretty Deadly, Roxanne Perez, Solo Sikoa, Zoe Stark, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio. And I'm sure that's not it. Those are the ones that I can name. Those are the ones that I found and listed. And look, this isn't really meant to be a comparison. I don't think MJF was doing that to create this, like comparison and contrast between the two companies. But as a casual wrestling fan, as a champion of the WWE brand, I thought it was fun to look at it and see. And of course, as a casual fan, I look at those two lists and go, one of these things is not quite like the other. But let me know, who did I leave out that's under 30 from WWE that possibly could have been on that list that I just absolutely forgot? Freddie Prince thinks Drew McIntyre is leaving WWE for AEW. I'm not going to say no chance here, because I said that with Edge, and look, I had to eat a bunch of humble pie on that one, even though after hearing Edge talk with Tony Khan, I think I gave Edge more credit as a businessman than he deserved. He actually came out and said that he looked forward to shooting a promo hanging out the window of a car, which is, absolutely what you want to hear from a man who has kids is, do some real stupid shit in your 40s and 50s because, be a selfish motherfucker, right? But as far as Drew McIntyre goes, these guys, these WWE guys have to start looking at the writing that's on the wall. Everybody who leaves WWE goes to AEW and just becomes another guy. They lose all charisma. They lose all credibility. They fall into the dumb booking patterns that Tony Khan presents to them. It's the same fucking story, right? It's, I'm so happy. There's so much freedom. It's all about being happy until one day they aren't. And then they're just kind of curmudgeon and they're pissed off and they're angry. Here's the other problem. Let's be realistic. Drew McIntyre's too fucking big for AEW. They aren't going to put him in the ring standing next to MJF, Adam Noodle Cole, Jungle Bitch, Kenny Omega. Like, the optics don't work for AEW. And the other problem is he doesn't do enough flips. And the other problem is that if he starts doing flips, that's going to be even worse. I think that Drew McIntyre stays put. I could eat humble pie on that one again, but that's actually what I believe. And last thing to talk about here is Top Dollar and Michael Cole were building toward a match. Well, thank God Triple H got rid of Top Dollar and shut that shit down, because nobody, absolutely nobody, was asking for that match. But that is it this week. I will keep you guys posted on the official date for the Casual Wrestling Season 3 content launch. It's coming up in the next couple of weeks. I got to figure out things going on with the studio. It never just goes perfectly to plan, but things are moving forward. That's the good thing. Next Wednesday, we are recording the first episode of the Casual Wrestling Premium Live Event Experience for SummerSlam. So look out for that. Probably a lot of CM Punk talk. I'm gonna tell you, me and Mike are both big believers that CM Punk's showing up. Might do a special edition of the Champ and the Chick this week, just a one-off Thanksgiving edition. I think it might be fun if me and Lauren get around to it. That will just, that'll be like a fun little surprise drop. You guys could watch that over Thanksgiving break. But other than that, make sure to share this episode. That is the most important thing you can do to help this community grow. Post it on your Facebook. Post it in any Discord you're a part of. Post it on Reddit. Hand it on, put it on a thumb drive and hand it around. Cut clips from this and put them on TikTok. You guys do me like they do, what's old boy's name? Tate, what's his name? Andrew Tate. And start just cutting clips of me and posting them all over the internet, because TikTok fucking hates me like they hate Andrew Tate. So just go ahead and cut clips of me and put them on. It's another bald guy on TikTok that people hate. Go ahead and do that. But until next time, guys, keep it casual. I'm tapping out.